The construction site was already active when the morning shift began. Workers gathered for the daily briefing, listening as the supervisor outlined tasks and reinforced safety procedures. It was a routine start. Everything seemed organized. Everything seemed under control. Among the crew was Victor, a worker known for his consistency and attention to detail. He had experience on similar projects and felt confident in the daily routine. That morning, his team was assigned to prepare an area for material handling. The task involved organizing equipment, checking the workspace, and ensuring everything was ready for the day's activities. At first, all procedures were followed. The area was arranged. The tools were in place. The workflow began smoothly. As Victor moved through the site, he noticed a small detail. A section of the workspace was slightly more crowded than usual. Materials had been placed temporarily along the side of a pathway. It didn't block movement. It didn't interrupt the work. It simply reduced the space. A little Victor paused. He looked at it. It didn't seem like a problem. Workers were moving around it without difficulty. Everything continued as normal, so he moved on. As the morning progressed, the pace increased. More materials were brought in, and more workers began using the same pathway. The space became tighter. Still manageable. Still functional, but different. The team adapted. They adjusted their movements. They paid a little more attention when passing through. The environment was still working, but it required more effort. Victor began to notice that small adjustments were becoming part of the routine. No one stopped to address the original detail because it didn't look like a risk. Around midday, the supervisor walked through the site during a routine inspection. As he approached the area, he observed the same condition. He stopped. From his perspective, it was clear. The pathway was no longer within the standard. Even though it was still usable, it introduced uncertainty. He called Victor and the nearby workers. Together, they reviewed the space. The supervisor asked a simple question. Does this look safe, or does it just seem manageable? The workers looked at each other. At first, the answer wasn't clear, because nothing had gone wrong. But then they began to see it differently. The reduced space, the constant adjustments, the extra attention required. It was not about what had happened. It was about what could happen over time. The team paused the activity and reorganized the materials. They cleared the pathway, restored the proper spacing, and ensured the area matched the intended standard. The change was immediate. Movement became easier. Tasks flowed more naturally. The need for constant adjustment disappeared. Afterward, the supervisor gathered the team for a brief discussion. He spoke calmly. Not every risk looks like one, he said. Some risks appear normal because we adapt to them. The workers listened. When we adapt instead of correct, we allow the environment to change. And over time, those changes create conditions that are less predictable. Victor reflected on those words. He realized that he had seen the issue earlier, but because it didn't seem serious, he chose to continue working. The supervisor emphasized an important idea. Safety is not about working around a condition. It is about maintaining the right condition. The team understood. From that moment on, they committed to a simple approach. If something was not within the standard, it would be corrected immediately. Not later. Not when it became a problem. But at the moment, it was noticed. The work continued for the rest of the day with a renewed sense of awareness. At the end of the shift, Victor walked through the site one last time. Everything looked organized. Everything felt stable. But his perspective had changed. He understood that risks are not always obvious. They do not always stop the work. They do not always demand attention. Sometimes they blend into the routine. And that is what makes them dangerous. Victor left the site with a clear thought. Recognizing risk is not about waiting for something to go wrong. It is about seeing what others might ignore, because the risk that doesn't look like one is often the one that goes unnoticed. And noticing it early is what keeps the work safe for everyone.